Sure.
Okay, so we will start with Spring. So, what is IOC in Spring?
It is basically inversion of control. So let's say in our old-fashioned programming, right? So we used to declare objects. Uh, uh, Suppose you want to use some object in one method, so you declared one object and created new object there itself. So that is tight coupling, right? And in inversion of control, so we uh, we inject that specific object which is needed for that function from outside. So that is dependency injection we call it as. And yes, so control is not there in our function, but it is somewhere else. So that is inversion of control. So Spring takes care of all these things, creating objects and all. So you just have to define beans in your application in XML configuration. So it will create objects automatically and pass it to our required, wherever required we can use that beans.
Okay, okay. So, what are the different scopes of Spring Bean?
So we have a singleton, prototype, request, session,
Okay,
like that.
okay. And have you used Spring Boot as well?
No, I have not worked on Spring Boot.
What is string pool in Java?
String constant pool, you are saying, right?
Yeah.
So basically, whenever you declare one any literal string literal, suppose string s, right? So that value will get stored in string constant pool.
Okay.
So it is basically a memory area where your all the string literals will be stored.
So, and what is instance level locking and what is class level locking?
Okay, so basically you are talking about synchronized blocks and methods, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so whenever we have method, synchronized method, let's say, so that locks on object, right? And if you have static synchronized method, then that will lock on class level.
Yeah. Tell me.
Yeah, so whenever we have a synchronized method, right, that will and suppose one thread is executing that particular synchronized method, so it will lock on object, okay. And whenever we have static synchronized method, then it will lock on class level.
And so, what is the difference between a normal method, normal interface and a functional interface?
In functional interface, it is introduced in Java 8. So basically, we can have method implementation also in that. But in normal interface, previously we don't have option to write concrete methods. Like we can at least write static methods, right? And by function name dot static method, we can call that. So in normal interface, it is not there.
Okay. So, in Java 8, there is Lambda expressions, right? Lambda.
Mhm.
So, what
Yeah.
are those?
Uh, I have not used means in my project or but Lambda expressions simplify our life, means you don't have to write much code. Let's say you want to iterate something, or you want to write there are means shortcuts, means in short line you can iterate that map or array list.
Okay.
So I am not that much familiar with Java features. Means I know basic idea of that.
Okay. Okay, fine. So you don't have experience on Java 8?
No, actually, in my project, we are using Java 6 only currently.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so in threads there is a sleep method and there is a wait method.
Mhm.
Okay, so what is the difference between these two?
So, sleep method, what will do, it will, thread will be on hold, right? But it will not release monitor. Um, but where wait method, it will also hold execution, but it will release lock, means it will release monitor.
Okay, so uh, which one? So there is primitive data type int and there is integer as well. Okay,
Mhm.
so which one
Mhm.
will take more memory? Which
Uh,
type? Yeah.
I think integer will take more memory because that is wrapper class of integer. Uh,
Okay. Yeah. Can you tell me why string is immutable?
String because of security purpose, we can say. Uh,
Secure.
suppose you
Yeah.
suppose you have some uh,
Yeah.
which example I can tell you. Suppose you have some department name or something, right? But that should not be changeable. Suppose you have something unique, right? Department name is something unique. So that should not be changeable, or anything which should not be changeable. Then we that should be immutable.
Okay. And what is the difference between stack and heap memories in Java?
Stack is basically whatever method calls happens, right? Method M1 calling M2, M2 calling M3. So like that track is added in that stack, and whatever local variables are there, right? We are declaring that also gets stored in stack. And another thing is heap, you said, right?
Yeah.
So in heap, normal objects we create, right? Suppose you are creating string object with string str is equal to a new string. So those kind of objects will be stored in heap memory.
Okay. So in collection there is array list and there is linked list. So which one
Mhm.
will you prefer? And I mean, in which case you will prefer linked list, and in which case you will prefer array list?
Okay, so it depends on situation, right? So if let's say you have requirement to load that array list data one time, and just after that you just need to select that, or you just need to read that.
Yeah.
In that case, I will go with array list. But you have frequent additions and deletions. Then in that case, we should go for linked list.
Okay.
Because it will impact your performance if you have frequent additions and deletions in normal array list.
Okay. Okay. What is the difference between a comparator and a comparable?
Comparable means it will impact that particular object. Like let's say you have employee class, and you are implementing comparable, right? So you have to do means compare. You have to write compare to method, and yes. So you and whereas comparator, right? Then you have to create another class for that, and it will not impact existing class, and you have to override compare method, and you have to pass two objects for comparison. And one more thing, one major difference is comparator will be work on multiple fields. We can sort or compare based on multiple fields, whereas compare to will sort on single field only.
Okay. Okay. So, what type of databases you have used?
Previously, I have worked on MySQL and currently working on Oracle.
Okay. Okay. So, what is triggers? What is trigger in
Okay, so if you have some table, right? Let's say employee table you have, and you have some updations, frequent updation, and you want to track those updations, history, in short. So whenever any update happening on that table, so that update, what it is updating and all these things we can track in some other table or temporary table by triggering means we have before update trigger, we have after update triggers like that, so we can track that activities.
Okay. Okay. So, you have so, can you tell me the difference between primary key and unique key?
Okay, so primary key you can have only one on table, whereas unique key can be you can have multiple, and in primary key you cannot have null value, right? And whereas in unique key you can have null value also, and uh, yeah, primary key, so unique key is combination of multiple columns, right? Whereas a primary key can be on one column.
Okay.
So
Can
these
you
are
tell
the,
me
yeah,
the
yeah.
difference between hash table and concurrent hash map?
Okay, so in concurrent hash map, suppose you are inserting or reading, you are updating any value or reading any value. So it will lock on bucket and not on whole map object. But whereas in hash table, right, it will lock on entire map.
Yeah. So, do you know internal working of hash map?
Yeah.
So, how rehashing happens in hash map?
Rehashing means in case of hash collision you are saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you are adding one key value pair. Okay, now it will call put method. Will call put method, right? It will calculate hash code of the key, and it will find a particular bucket in which bucket it should go. So let's say it has calculated six, bucket number six. Now it will go through all the list available under that bucket, all the nodes one by one. Now it will compare first hash code, whether hash code is matching or not. If it is not matching, it will go to the next node, like that. Now if some hash code is matching but equals method is not matching, after that once it is matching hash code, it will match equals method also, right? So if it is equals method is not matching, then what it will do, it will insert another node. So here we have same hash code for two objects, but those objects are not actually equal. So its contents are different.
Okay. So, how you can detect a memory leak in your application?
Memory leak means, do you have any specific example or?
Mem a memory leak. What is memory leak? What can be a memory leak?
Maybe means if you are creating objects and that those are not getting garbage collected or something, you are not making it null.
Yeah. So
Uh,
how you can detect these things while coding or while in your application in general?
Suppose in loop you are creating suppose you are in loop you are modifying string object and appending values or something like that. Maybe you can use sonar or something that will help you to detect such kind of things.
Okay. Okay, so do you know what is why microservices were introduced?
So I have not actually worked on that, but basic idea I will tell. So your
Okay,
server code
I mean, if
will
you
yeah
haven't worked on that, no problem. We will move
yeah
forward.
okay
Okay, so have you read have you written some unit test cases?
yeah.
Okay, so any framework specifically you have used like Mockito or any other thing?
No, normal
Rest
JUnit
assured.
test cases, right? You will have at test annotations and all.
Okay,
So assert method. Yeah.
okay. So suppose I want to write a JUnit test case. I am expecting in one of my piece of code, I am expecting that there will be an exception.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how do you write a test case for that?
So exception means your code will stop there, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you will have to throw that exception and in assert method means we can catch that exception, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, you have to handle that. Means you should be handling that exception, and if you are not handling, at least you should throw that exception outside method by
Okay.
using throw keyword.
Yeah. Or either we can use there is in with the annotation test annotation we can use expected and give the exception whichever type of exception we want to expect from that test case.
Okay. Actually, I have not done this kind of thing. Means exception kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, but the thing is, while writing JUnit test cases, there are with the positive test, you also need to
Correct, correct.
check the negative one. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there can be a scenario that you will get exceptions, and you are expecting exception. So if suppose some value is not up to date or not the condition is not matching, then you will expect some exception. Either it can be a custom exception, you can create that and you can throw that in the code.
Mm-hmm. So maybe suppose as I said, right, we should throw exception object. So maybe we can expect that exception object, maybe custom exception object or predefined exception,
Okay.
and we can match that in assert.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so can you tell me the difference between a unit test and integration test?
So unit test is basically your function by function test. You can say, suppose you have written one function, and suppose it is taking some value. Let's say addition function. You have written addition function. So it will take two integers, and it will give sum. So that is functional. Sorry, unit test. You can say, and suppose you are using that addition function somewhere else. So some other component or some other class is calling that addition function, and that sum is being used somewhere else, so that we can call as a integration testing.
Okay. Okay, so there is a approach of coding which is where you write test cases.
Yeah,
Uh,
test driven
yeah, test
development,
driven
right?
development.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that?
I think that is good practice because we think of all the possible test cases, right? Maybe negative or positive. We write those firstly, and then accordingly we develop things. So there are less chances of any development miss or any mistake happening, right? There are very less chances. So I see that as a good option.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so any drawback you feel in that approach?
Drawback as such, maybe suppose in case, right, you are not clear. Suppose you got some requirement, right, and frequent changes are happening in that. So again, in that requirement, sometimes it happens, right? When business says, I don't want this now, I want this. So you have to change those things, right, accordingly.
Okay, okay. So have you done? Have you like do wrote any cron expression or any scheduled job while coding?
Yeah, actually, we have one framework in my project, and in that we can give cron expression and all. That will call our particular method so basically, it is cron job only, but we can give unique expression like on which time you want to execute and which class and which method you want to execute. So it will execute at that time. And in Unix also, you can have cron jobs. Uh, Personally, I have not created it, but I don't think that is difficult one.
Okay, okay. So while using exceptions, I'm using a finally block. Okay,
Mhm.
and in finally block itself, I'm returning. So in that method, I'm returning the value in finally
Mhm.
block.
Mhm.
Uh, so can I keep some statements after that finally block, or it will execute or not?
No, no. Once you write return statement, right?
Yeah.
After that, your whatever you are writing, after that it will be unreachable code. So compiler will give error,
Okay.
compile
Or
time error.
if I return, I mean, write this return statement at the end of the that method and finally block just above that, what will happen?
I didn't get finally block just above that means
Yeah, I mean,
below that or above that you are saying.
the last line is return statement and the
Uh-huh.
second last line is finally block.
In try block, you have return statement, and after that finally block is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will work. So means you don't have to really. It is not mandatory to catch block.
So
You can write.
when this finally block will execute after the return statement or before that?
So after return statement, right? It will get executed, but it will definitely get executed.
Okay.
And but it suppose you have called one method, right, and you have try block this scenario and finally block. You have a return statement in try block, but without executing finally block, it will not give control to caller method.
Yeah. Okay. So in database, I mean in MySQL, there are prepared statements and statements.
Mhm.
So what is the benefit of prepared statement over using the statement?
So if you have heard about SQL injection and all, right? Suppose any hacker or something means suppose you have one field on UI, you can write select query if you know database structure and all. So you can inject queries in statements, and you can delete or do anything wrong with the database, right? But the benefit with a prepared statement, such kind of things will be avoided. Means you there are no chance of SQL injection. So that is the main benefit from prepared statement.
Okay. What is REST?
So REST is it is a web service type, you can say. So it is means medium of communication in between two applications, you can say.
Okay.
So the JSON format we do communicate in between two applications. So a data transmission type will be your JSON.
Okay. So, do you know anything about screen tokenizer?
Uh, for authorization, right? You are saying.
No, not for in general. What is string tokenizer? I mean, you can use those in multiple ways, but in general, what is that?
Means to I know means that to authorize whether you are valid client or not. Suppose you have to pass token with the API whenever you are calling,
Mm-hmm.
and means that token will be valid for 20 minutes or something like that.
Okay. Okay. So, there are two, like, while creating a thread, there are two ways. One is runnable, and I mean, there is one more way. Uh, by use by using thread class and by using runnable interface. So, which one is
Mhm.
better according to you?
So if you extend thread class, you don't have any chance to extend other class again. So you cannot extend other class. But if you implement runnable, that is interface, right? So you will have a chance to extend other class, so that you will not miss uh, your inheritance, in short.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
And what is callable interface uh, in thread?
Yeah, callable is also one option. If you want to return some output from after running that thread, then we use callable. I think I have not recently used that callable. I used the runnable thread only. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So, what is fail fast and fail safe iterator?
Uh, Fail-safe means whenever you are iterating, so you can change that object actually. Suppose you are iterating list, so or concurrent hash map. Suppose you are iterating, so you can change that actually while iterating. So that is fail-safe. But whatever object we cannot change while iterating, that is fail-fast.
Okay. Okay. So, I think I have done from my side. Do you have any questions?